Hello. Happy Monday. I hope you guys are having a great day. I don't have my filter on, which is super weird to me. But before we jump in, I want to tell you guys this tip that you are going to absolutely think is so amazing. There is this program or this AI website called Opus something. And basically you can take your videos and you can put them in there, and then they will chop them up and make them into TikToks and Reels. And it is so freaking good. And right now it's free. It's probably not going to be free for a long time. But I have been using that. And so I noticed, like with the filter on Instagram, that it tends to make my videos look really choppy. So I want to test it out and see if I do it without the filter, if it'll be choppy or not. So we shall see. But I wanted today to talk about what to do when you feel like you have nothing to say. I think that this is something that really throws a lot of people off track when it comes to building a social media brand. Because if you have followed me for any amount of time, you know that I believe the ultimate strategy when it comes to growing a social media brand is consistency. And the truth is that we are not going to be creative 100% of the time, all of the time. We are not going to think of new concepts to talk about all of the time. The truth is we are humans, and as humans, what happens is life happens. For instance, I just was really sick for the past week and a half. And the week before that, my husband was sick. And so there was just a lot going on in our house for the past 2 weeks. And I took a huge step back from creating content, posting, just simply because I was dying. I was laying there, literally dying. And so now as I'm starting to feel better, I started to feel frustrated because I feel like I have nothing to say. And a little bit of backstory, I am in the middle of the biggest launch of my business, and it's not going to be over until June 12th. So I have some time where I need to be creating content. I need to be selling and launching my mastermind. I need to be talking about that. And when you feel like you have nothing to say, it can be super frustrating. So first and foremost, I want to say that this is normal. This happens. Like I said at the beginning, you're not going to be 100% creative 100% of the time. There's going to be times where you're I just have nothing to say. And so I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on what you can do when you feel like you have nothing to say. But I also just want to remind you that it's normal. And the worst thing that you can do is allow a week off social media to turn into 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, or whatever. Or another common thing that I would see happen a lot, especially inside of network marketing, is people will hustle really hard for a short period of time, maybe a week or 2 or 3. And then they get so burnt out that they don't come back and they don't show up. And so they're so inconsistent that they don't build a know, like, and trust factor with their audience. And it's important to show up consistently to build that know, like, and trust factor. And I always teach my clients, let's figure out how you can show up consistently more often than not, so that you can build that presence and you can build that brand awareness and you can build that know, like, and trust factor. Okay, so what do you do when you feel like you have nothing to say? So there is a couple things I do, and I don't think that there's one, again, end all be all answer to this situation, because there can be a lot going on. First and foremost, when you are in that space where you feel creative as fuck, you have all of the downloads, you're creating all of the content, save that content somewhere. Save it in the notes section of your phone, save it on a Google Drive, on a OneDrive. I don't care where you save it. Save the content that you are creating. There is nothing wrong with repurposing, reusing, and recycling your content. In fact, I did a video on that 2 weeks ago. You can go back and check that out. But there is nothing wrong with that. So at the beginning, when I first started getting sick, I was repurposing content that I had already created. I was repurposing TikToks and Reels and content that I had already typed out from my last launch. So I had stuff that I could share even when I just felt like my brain wasn't working. Now, there's nothing wrong with taking time off. So it's not that you have to be showing up 24/7 all of the time, 365 days of the year. That's not what I'm saying. Being more consistent than not is the important piece. The second thing is having self-awareness is going to be your superpower. So consistency, self-awareness, self-trust. Those are all going to be your superpower when it comes to growing your business. And what I teach my clients to do is figure out how they get into that creative mode. Like, what did you do? So cultivating creativity is something that I teach inside of the Confident Content Experience, where we go through a process, we figure out how you get to cultivating that creativity. Like, what steps did you take in order to feel super creative? And a lot of people don't take the time to take a step back and get curious and figure out like the steps that they took to get there. But because I have been doing this for so long, like, I know the steps for me to take in order to feel creative. Do they work 100% of the time? No. But having the awareness to say, okay, here are the things that work for me. Getting up early before the rest of my family, journaling and reading, and pulling cards, just having time with myself while I drink my coffee, and moving my body. Those things right there normally will get my brain going to where I can create some sort of content. And so I make sure and I schedule in those activities. I also know that taking a break from social media is super important. And that is something too that will help me cultivate creativity. So this morning when I'm like, I literally feel like I have nothing to share. I don't even know what to do. Like, my brain is still a little bit foggy, still getting over this sickness. What are some things that I can do in order to feel like cultivate creativity? So I got up early, did my morning routine, went for my walk, got my workout in, and I even got ready. Like, I'm literally going nowhere today. Maybe we're going to karate after school, see how my son feels when he gets home from school. But other than that, like, I don't have any plans. And so, but I knew that getting ready is something that really makes me to feel better and also helps me to be creative. Another thing that I know is for the past 2 weeks, I have been watching a ton of TikTok, like way too much TikTok. And so that can be something that is really clouding up my creative space, like juices, right? Like, I'll start to try to show up as somebody else or show up as somebody that I'm not, or then I'll get in my head and start doing this comparison thing. So I know that I need to stop consuming so much content in order for me to step back into feeling creative and creating the type of content that I want to create. And the next thing is when I'm feeling like, this is probably a little bit different than feeling like I have nothing to say, but a lot of times, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, tell me if it has, but you feel like you have so much to say, but you don't know how to say it. And so when that happens, what I do is I make myself take action, and I remind myself that posted is better than perfect. And I will just say whatever is on my mind, because the truth is when you start taking action, that breeds to clarity. So even while I still right now, I just am like, I really don't know what I should be posting or creating content around. I mean, I know what I need to be creating content around, but like, nothing new is coming into me and I'm not feeling like lit up. I'll just create content. Is it going to be the best content that I've ever created? No, but I know that taking the action starts to move the energy and starts to gain traction and momentum. And then all of a sudden in a week or two, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I have all these ideas for content and stuff. And that also doesn't mean that content isn't going to perform well, because a lot of times when I am in the, okay, Ashley, you have to say whatever it is that you're thinking and get the post out there, I tend to connect with more people because I am like 100% unfiltered, because I don't know what to say. So I just say whatever's on my mind. So that is another trick. And then also taking a break. If you have been showing up, so I have already taken my break. Like, I actually took a lot of breaks the past 2 months, which have been completely unplanned. However, when I get to a point where I'm just like consuming too much content or I don't feel like I have anything to say, I allow myself to take that break. I delete social media off of my phone. I go out and live my life. A lot of times we think that consuming social media is a way for us to create more content, when in fact, that's only a way for us to feel more frustrated. Now, I'm not saying that consuming social media is bad. I do believe that if you're growing a brand on social media, you need to be consuming content with boundaries, right? because if we are expecting other people to consume our content, we need to be showing up and we need to be consuming other people's content. And it also will give you some ideas sometimes, but sometimes we can get so much in our heads that we just need to take a break and we need to step away from consuming the content in order for us to get back into our creative mode, get back into our authenticity, and to share our truth and our message. So don't ever feel like you cannot take a break, because you definitely can take a break. And there have even been times where I still create content, but I'm still taking a break from social media. So I'm creating and posting, but I might not be consuming. But for the most part, I love social media and I love to consume content. I'm building my business and this is what I needed to hear. I consume too much content. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely placing boundaries around your consumption is super important. There are so many different ways to do this, and you don't have to do it in the way that everybody is telling you to do it. Like, figure out the boundaries around consuming content that will work for you. So I will give you this story really quickly because I think it's funny, and I don't like when I have like rules. So I think it was 2 summers ago or something, the time that I would spend on my phone or whatever would pop up. Like, what is that? I don't even know what that thing is called, but it tracks your time and where you spend it and how much time you've been on social media. And this was stressing me out so freaking bad. Like, every time that would pop up, I would beat myself up. I would shame myself. I would guilt myself. Like, holy shit, like, you're spending so much time on your phone. And finally, I realized I could turn that thing off. And it wouldn't pop up and give me a notification at the end of the week telling me how much time I spent on my phone and all this shit. And it was the most freeing thing I ever did. And I actually stopped consuming so much content because I didn't feel like I had rules put on myself. Like, I released that pressure. So I personally don't use any time thing where it'll be like, okay, you can only spend 2 hours on Instagram or whatever. Like, that doesn't work for me. And this is where I say, like, self-awareness is always, always, always your superpower. And then also, like, taking a break from consuming business stuff, right? Like, I started reading fiction like a year or 2 ago, and that really would help me to get creative, because sometimes when we consume so much information, it could really stop us from taking action because we want things to be perfect. So finding your balance of consumption, and also maybe having a time at the end of the day where you shut your phone off, or maybe it's during the day. Maybe you're working during the day and you're creating during the day and then you want to consume later. Like, you get to decide what that looks like for you, but there are no rules. You create the rules. And I think you'll find a huge difference when you stop consuming so much content and then going out and living your life or doing things that will help you cultivate the creativity. We all go through it. We all go through times where I like to call it content constipation. But it's really just like tapping back into ourselves, tapping back into our message. And also another thing that helps me is when I'm not embodying my message, I feel like a fraud and I feel like I have nothing to say. So I'll often check in and be like, are you actually practicing what you're preaching? Are you actually embodying the message that you're teaching your clients and your audience to do? Because sometimes when we're not, it's hard for us to create content. And so just having that check-in with yourself to see where you're at, and getting just curious about your daily routines and the things that you're doing. Sometimes it's just like simply like changing up your routine, like changing like one thing that you're doing. Like, I know for me, oftentimes I'll change up my morning routine and the schedule that I'm doing it, and I'll feel like I have more time, that I'm more productive, and I feel more creative. So anyways, that's my little riff on what to do when you feel like you have nothing to say. I know that there was a bunch of different options here, but test them out, see what will work for you. And if you have any questions, my inbox is always open. Send me a message. Let's chat. And I hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.